Hello, and welcome back to Warning Signs. I am Kate Majot, a domestic violence survivor, therapist, and author. This podcast is my serial narration of my Warning Signs book series as I turn them each into audiobooks. Warning Signs is my memoir about domestic violence. It feels like a fun romance adventure story, but after each chapter, I explain the domestic violence that was occurring. According to the Human Rights Campaign, 35% of heterosexual women, 44% of lesbians, 61% of bisexual women, and 54% of transgender people have experienced domestic violence. The National Coalition for Domestic Violence reports the following numbers for men: 26% of gay men, 37% of bisexual men, and 29% of heterosexual men. Domestic violence affects all of us. Listen on to learn about how it happened, to help yourself and others heal, and to prevent it from continuing to happen. As the book and podcast series progress, there will be a few episodes with more extreme emotional and physical violence. I will make a trigger warning before these chapters. Thank you for being courageous enough to listen, and be sure to give yourself some healing time and space between episodes, especially as we progress in the series. To all of the survivors out there, this is for you. Thank you. In this episode, Jason and I move in together, and shortly afterward, hear employment news that will dramatically alter our lives. Chapter 4, Joining. Jason and I continue to spend every day at work and every night after work together. The nights we weren't with his parents, we played pool, went to Irish bars, played a video game where we played musical instruments, or invited friends over. We always had a great time and never wanted to be apart. Sometimes, when our friends were over for several hours, Jason and I told them we were quote unquote doing laundry and snuck off to the laundry room to physically be together. We were very excited about how the first 3 months of our relationship were going. We initially took turns spending nights at each other's apartment. But when I was home alone at my apartment, I often heard gunshots. I didn't feel safe at my place by myself. Jason and I decided it was best if we stayed at his apartment more often. I was also never really comfortable being by myself. Ever since high school, I spent all my free time with friends or boyfriends. I felt bored, restless, and anxious when I was by myself. It was comforting to be with Jason every night, and I adored that he wanted to keep me safe. So we spent every night at his place, and every morning I waited for him to shower and get ready, and then we drove to my apartment, and he waited for me to do the same. It got tiring after a while, and sometimes when we were at his place, I wanted something from my apartment, like a sweatshirt, to keep me warm and comfortable. One morning, that September, when we were leaving his place, I asked, "Hey, would it be okay if I kept my sweatshirt here so I don't have to bring it back and forth?" He shrugged his shoulders. "Sure, of course, why not?" I was surprised at how easy his response was, considering all the previous commitment phobe men I had met. I smiled and slowly said, watching his expression, "Okay, well, what if I also left a toothbrush?" He chuckled. "Sure, babe, you can leave whatever you want here." "Thank you," I said with a kiss. The next morning, I said, "Hey, so we spend a lot of extra time in the mornings waiting for each other to get ready. And if you don't mind if I have a few things here, what if we live together?" He beamed. "Sure, let's do it." I was so shocked that I laughed. "Really? You're okay with that? I mean, you want to live together?" He laughed back. "Of course, we spend every night together anyway, and we would save time and money, so why not?" I smiled and then suddenly felt nervous. I had never lived with a boyfriend before. My only other serious boyfriend was in college, and he constantly pissed me off, so I consistently broke up with him every month. Then I always got back together with him when he convinced me to do so. He's a lawyer now, go figure. So, Jason was the first boyfriend with whom I wanted to live. I asked, "Wait, but are you sure? Are we ready?" He kissed me on the cheek. "Oh, you're cute. Yeah, babe, we're ready. Let's do this." I kissed him back. "Okay." The next day, we made arrangements with our landlords. I moved into his apartment the following week. He never really liked his apartment because it wasn't new and modern, but I loved it. It was in a historic building in the center of the city and it had heart and character. I felt safe and happy there. I also felt safe and happy at work. I loved selling travel to people, and its only minor downside was that it was so easy I was often bored. We worked for Travel Co. in a satellite office about an hour away from headquarters. In late October of 2009, just 4 months after I started working there, everyone in the office received an email invitation for a mandatory office wide meeting. We worked on the phones, so it seemed strange for the entire office to go to a meeting at once. There was a thick layer of fog that day, and the temperament in the office mirrored it. At 2:30 p.m., around our usual lunchtime since we worked late shifts, we all gathered for the meeting. Someone in a very high position in headquarters greeted us. We never thought we would meet someone so high up the corporate ladder. It felt weird he was there, and even weirder, he wasn't smiling and excited to meet us. We all felt the tension in the air. He began, "We want to thank you for all you've done here. You've had amazing sales, and you've all done a great job." He took a deep breath, paused, and continued, "We called this meeting to let you know we are closing this office and outsourcing it to the Philippines. We have a sales and service office in Las Vegas, and we encourage you to apply for jobs there." I heard a collective gasp and then whispers from every direction. I was solemn, lost, confused, frustrated. I felt the gamut of emotions. I was still new, and I had spent the previous 6 months looking for a new career. I spiraled back into a depression of the unknown. Jason, on the other hand, turned and looked at me with the utmost glee. "Vegas? We can move to Vegas? Let's do it! You want to go, right?" I had never seen him so excited. He tried to infect me with his enthusiasm, but all I could feel was dread and panic. I couldn't stomach it. I went to college in a tiny town on the other side of the state. I only moved back to Seattle a few years prior, and I loved living in the city again. I loved the culture, the liberalism, the arts, the nature, and most importantly, that I was close to my family. I was happy here, and I hadn't planned on ever moving again. The city we lived in wasn't quite as big or as great as Seattle, but it was close in feel and proximity. I cautiously replied, Sure. I don't think I want to go, but let's talk about this later. Let's see all of our options." He pouted, but obliged for the moment. When we left the meeting, he excitedly talked with our friends and colleagues about moving to Vegas and tried to convince everyone to go. I silently observed our friends point out the downsides of moving to and living in Vegas, and Jason illustrated the perks. "It will be so much fun! There's sunshine, and 24-hour bars, and strip clubs, and pools, and so many shows and clubs." Their moods seemed to be close to mine. They each said things like, sure, but it will be hard and expensive to move, and I like it here. I like having all four seasons in a more wholesome environment." They went around and round in their disagreements, and I held out hope for Jason to see their points. Jason's mind couldn't be changed. He spent his childhood summers in inland California with his recently deceased grandmother, about whom Cassie and he often reminisced. The dry heat and desert made him nostalgically happy. Plus, he loved to party. He loved Las Vegas. Travel Co. gave us a 3-month settlement in which we still received our paychecks and still had benefits such as health insurance. We were not in a big rush to make a decision, but we knew the recession was continuing to worsen and it was a hard time to find a job. In the following weeks, I stopped trying to talk him out of moving to Vegas and instead focused all my energy trying to find a job at home. I was determined to find a better opportunity to prove to both of us we could be happy in careers at home. I spent 5 hours a day searching for and applying to jobs. In the 4 short months since the last time I applied for jobs, the options dropped. None of the corporations were hiring. Nonetheless, I searched, applied, and kept up my spirits. Jason, on the other hand, was determined to go to Vegas and spent those same 5 hours playing video games. I didn't care for video games to begin with, but he was so enthused by it that I supported what made him happy. Yet, he spent most of his time playing games with graphics so lifelike that the violence was nearly impossible to watch. I did, however, find it frustrating that he wasn't looking for jobs with me. Occasionally, I suggested he do so, and he refused to look for anything at home. He said he loved his job in sales at Travelco and he wanted to move to Las Vegas, so he only applied for sales jobs at Travelco Las Vegas. He said he didn't want to work for another company, so I looked for jobs for him at Travelco's headquarters in a nearby city. Every time I read a job description, he asked, "Does it require a college degree?" They always did, so I tried to encourage him and said, managers often write a wish list on their job descriptions and they still hire someone if they only meet some of their requirements. He shook his head. "No, babe, it's not worth my time," and resumed attention to his video game. One day, he sat down and looked at jobs with me. We ran into the same issue. It was tough to argue with him. The job market was tight. We are in the height of the recession. He only needed to take 2 more classes to finish his AA degree, but we both knew that the time it would take to finish those classes wouldn't have made much of a difference in his immediate job prospects. He reassured me he was happy working in sales. I suggested he apply for sales jobs at other companies at home. He shook his head, then shouted, "Let's go to Vegas, baby!" I gave up the argument and decided to leave it up to my hard work, determination, and fate. After I didn't hear from any job for 3 weeks, I realized how bad the economic situation was. I decided to partially give in to Jason's desires. I said to him and the universe, if I get a promotion at the Travelco Vegas office, then I would take the job and move. I bit the bullet and applied. I heard back a few days later and interviewed the next day on a Friday in November. They offered me the job on the spot. I would be a level 3 senior agent and represent the corporate office as the third level of customer support. I would research errors and resolve customer problems. The job sounded interesting, and management assured me this role would be the quickest path to further growth opportunities. It all sounded great, but I was still not thrilled about moving to Vegas, especially with someone I'd only been dating a couple of months. Yet, since I hadn't heard back from anyone else, that seemed like my only option. They were excited to hire me and wanted my answer by the end of the week. Jason picked me up from the interview. "Hi, honey. How was the interview? Did you get it?" He asked excitedly while kissing me on the cheek. "Hi," I said in the cheeriest voice I could muster. Yeah. They want me to tell them if I'll take it by Friday." I trailed off, not sure how I felt or what else to say. I could have elaborated about the perks and pay of the job, which were admittedly good, but I didn't want to give him more ammunition for Vegas. "Congratulations! I'm so happy for you! Great job! Yay! We're going to Vegas!" I meekly half smiled back and thanked him. I added, "I haven't totally decided yet. I want to wait a little bit longer in case I hear from one of the jobs I applied to here. And, well, if I don't get one, I could always get 2 retail jobs or move in with my parents again. Although I really want to be an adult and figure this out on my own." Rent prices in Seattle hadn't yet soared to their second tech era boom, but they were still too high for most entry level jobs. I had worked 2 jobs to afford my last apartment, so I knew I was capable, but I really didn't want to do that again. Mostly, though, I wanted a plan that included staying with Jason. "Oh, okay, honey, but Vegas! We can go to Vegas! Vegas, baby, Vegas!" Earlier in the week, he insisted we watch the movie Swingers to get in the quote unquote Vegas spirit. It was a fun movie, and I laughed at his joke while admiring his enthusiasm. Ever since, though, he couldn't resist saying, "Vegas, baby, Vegas!" at every chance he got. "You're adorable," I said with a kiss. "I just need time to think about this, though, okay?" "Okay, baby, let's go celebrate. We can at least celebrate the fact that they offered you a promotion, right? We can at least celebrate the fact that they offered you a promotion, right?" It wasn't really a question. "Ha ha," I said flatly. Then I tried to lift my mood, so I changed my tone and said, "Okay, honey, yes, you're right. Thank you. Besides, I'm hungry."